Carolyn Dube here. Oh, what's the play for today? Well, today it's not going to go as planned. And that's because in my mind, I thought I was going to line things up neatly and I was going to color within the lines. What was I thinking? Definitely what I did was a lot more fun than the stuff that was in my head. What happened right now in this very first step set the tone for everything else that was going to happen during this play. You see, I've got some cardboard there that had a layer of gesso on it, and I put the stencil by Mary Beth Shaw over at StencilGirl Products on here. And my intention was to center it on there so that the entire tree would be nicely on the cardboard. Except, well, it's not. There's part of it that isn't on there. A little bit's hanging off the side. I'll be honest with you, part of me was a little disappointed because I thought I had it centered. But you know what? It's not the end of the world. It's just an oops, an outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly. So I decided to just embrace it and go with it. If it's going to be that kind of day, I might as well have some fun with it. To get the color for the background here, I'm putting paint onto a round gel plate. Now, I could have used any gel plate that I've got. This just happened to be the closest one within reach, so that's the one I'm going with. One of the many cool things about a gel plate is that you can mix colors right there on the plate. I've got some white, some yellow, and some teal there, and I'm moving it around with the brayer so that when I put this down, it's going to create an interesting background. It's a really quick way to get interesting backgrounds created. Now, this isn't the only thing that a gel plate can do. They can pretty much do everything except your laundry. And you can find out more about gel plates, what they do, all sorts of resources for you over on my website at acolorfuljourney.com. I've got things for you like the do's and don'ts of gel printing, what's the best paint for a gel plate, as well as techniques to get pattern in there and some ideas of what to do with your print. So check that all out if you're interested in finding out more about gel printing. So now that I've got the white space just about all covered up, it's time to go on to the next step. And for this step, my intention was to color neatly and carefully inside the lines. And you can probably already tell that didn't last very long. And that's how this thing has gone from the beginning. What I thought I was going to do is not what I actually did. So instead of creating hard lines and coloring something in exactly, instead I've got this dreamy look, this sort of hazy color on here that's all blended around. And that's simply because I used Marabou's art crayon and blended it with my finger. This stuff is so wonderfully creamy and so very easy to blend. Now that I've got the color on the tree, I realize I want to add a pop of color on the leaves on this. And I want to put some yellow on there. But I also know how things have been going today, so if I put the yellow on there, the question is, will it look the way I want, or is it going to be something completely different? To get some yellow paint here onto the leaves, I'm using the gel plate, but not the way I did earlier in the video. This time, I'm simply using it as a paint palette. I was completely surprised that as I added the yellow here, it was pretty much what I was thinking would happen. I couldn't believe that things actually went the way I thought they would. And so began a false sense of security that what I have in my head is going to happen the way I think. Next thing I wanted was to add a border of some stenciling. And I chose this stencil called Rectangular Patterns for Play that I designed for StencilGirl Products because it had a lot of options on it. And I decided to pick one of them to put on the bottom. And I thought the yellow would just go so perfectly with the yellow on the leaves. Spoiler alert, this isn't going to turn out very well. You see, after I do all that stenciling and I lift it up, you can barely see it. When you use a light color, sometimes it's hard to see those details. And I really wanted those details to pop. So, yep, we're back to the way things have been going where the idea I have in my head is not coming out the way I expect. And once again, it's an oops, an outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly. So even though I can't really see that stenciling on the bottom, I really want that pattern on there. So I'm going to do it in another color. I'm just going to do it right on top of it. I happen to have some black out from when I did the stenciling of the tree, so I'm going to use that. And I'm just going to do a little bit here and there. Now I thought I would just do a little bit down there at the bottom. That was the plan, but today has not been about sticking to the plan. So I added a little bit of that pattern up around the top and the edges here and there. That's one of the cool things about stencils is that you can use the entire pattern just as it is, or you can pick and choose parts that you want to add to just put a little touch of something here and there. And then on a stencil like this one, where you've got multiple patterns, you have a lot of options and flexibility. You also have that flexibility when it comes to words or phrases on your stencils. So I wanted to put the title for this page or this piece of art as life, kind of a tree of life kind of feeling that I wanted for this. So I'm just going to take the word life from another stencil and use it here. The stencil that it's on is actually called the Dance of This Life stencil, but what I want right now is just this word. And so I'm going to do some very fancy masking here with a post-it note, and then I'm going to be able to just stencil that word. I'm stenciling carefully in an up and down motion using a small amount of paint so that I get some really crisp letters. Because you see, I wanted some really crisp letters. That was the plan, and yep, you bet, it's not going to stay exactly like that because what I've got going on in my head is not always what I really want to have happen. I'm going to bring in the art crayon again. I'm going to do a little writing just on top of it, and then blending and moving stuff around with my finger on top of the wet paint. So this is almost finished now. I'm going to add just a little touch of color here and there, and then I want to get some journaling on here. I'm using a fountain pen and I'm just getting some loose scribbled journaling added on here to get my thoughts and feelings that I've got going through my head right now to get them captured here onto the cardboard. Well, thanks so much for joining me for today's play. If you've been enjoying this video, I'd so appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of my videos, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll know as soon as I've got a new one out. Thanks so much for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.